only thing that I regret about moving to Dubai is not doing it sooner.
Yeah. Jodi Thompson, the Dubai recruiter, one of the best people on LinkedIn that I've ever seen. You're an absolute LinkedIn fiend. The industry across the board was at 50% before. Callum's come in and he's gone, we're going to make it higher. How's the rest of the industry taking that?
The initial sort of reaction to it was it's not sustainable. Their doors are going to be closed in 12 months. It's never going to work. Am I going to have to put my hands in my pocket and eat into my profits?
And have they?
I mean, some have. Yeah, definitely.
Tell me some stories about the success stories.
I had people from all different agencies messaging me like, how is that even possible to have done that?
If I've come and I've absolutely smashed it, I'm in the top 5 or 10% of people that have joined in the last year, what am I making in the first year?
He sold 691 million dirhams worth of properties last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, I posted, for 2 years, I posted every single day. I didn't miss a day for 2 whole years.
Christmas as well?
Christmas as well. I decided to run my first 5k in February and then sign up to do a full marathon, 42.2 kilometres, 9 months later. But the main thing that I want to do this year is just really enjoy everything that I'm doing. There was so much pressure put on myself by me last year. And at the last minute, another agent from another company comes in with a higher offer. You're not getting paid for any of that work that you've done.
That's a great clip for your LinkedIn. I've seen you looking at the camera there.
The fact that I can sit in my house, in my pyjamas, and my car is filled up for me and I don't even have to leave.
What percentage of people do you think that come here to be a real estate broker are still a real estate broker in 2 years' time?
I'd have jumped on the plane. I'd have jumped on the plane 5 years earlier. The only thing that I regret about moving to Dubai is not doing it sooner.
Welcome to the show where we talk to successful people about the bits you don't see. Today we're talking to Jodi Thompson, the Dubai recruiter, one of the best people on LinkedIn that I've ever seen. You're an absolute LinkedIn fiend.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming along, Jodi. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, really good, thank you. Been a busy start of the year, which is always a positive.
Good. So talk us through what you do.
So I've been based out in Dubai now. This is my 8th year. So kind of one of the OGs in the Dubai real estate recruitment space. Originally came out around the property investment side of things, which I'd done for a few years up until COVID hit, which obviously changed a lot of things for a lot of people, me being one of them. And that's where I got into the recruitment side of things. And it was one of those things, obviously COVID was quite a negative for a lot of people, but it led me to doing something that I absolutely love. So for me, it was what needed to happen for me to find what I'm good at and what I enjoy. So I've been doing the real estate recruitment side of things now for the past 4 years. HR, recruitment, training, a few different roles within the real estate industry, but now purely focusing on the recruitment side of things.
Nice. And obviously, we said before, I want to talk about kind of 2 different sides. One about you and what you did and the challenges that you face, but also brokers as a whole, because you're going to be able to give the best perspective of probably anyone on brokers, because you speak to one broker, he's going to go, oh, it's amazing. You speak to another one, it's going to be not so good. You've got that kind of full picture, so it's going to be good to speak about both sides today.
Definitely.
Talk me through brokers. What is a real estate broker in Dubai? What's it all about?
So a real estate broker in Dubai, it's quite different to what we are traditionally used to in the UK in terms of traditional UK-based estate agency. And I think that's one of the things that people are quite surprised by. It is a full 360 role. It's essentially running a business within a business, which means that the brokers are responsible for everything from the initial point of contact, building relationships with the owners, going through the marketing process, getting as much exposure on those properties as they can so that they can obviously generate as many leads as possible, qualifying those leads, going through the finances, what are your budgets, what are your non-negotiables, what's your criteria, and then actually putting together a portfolio of properties that meet that criteria. So there's a lot involved with being a real estate broker that maybe people don't see. There's a lot of admin involved, which obviously is the less exciting part of the role. And then obviously you've got things like going out and doing the viewings and meeting all kinds of different interesting people from different walks of life. And then obviously going through the negotiation stages, middleman between the owner and the client to come up with something that both parties can agree on so that we can put pen to paper, get contracts signed and get paid, because they do operate on a commission-only basis. So if the deal doesn't get done, no matter how much work you've put into it, you're not getting paid. Yeah. So that's the tough part.
What do they get paid? Because there's so much speculation about like this is the commissions, this is the all these sorts of things. How much do I make if I'm a broker that's doing all right?
So it is subjective. Everybody's different, and a successful first year in real estate could be that somebody has come in and they've earned more than their UK salary. They've taken on a load of new skills. They've built their way up in confidence, and then some people are successful in terms of they come in and they earn a ridiculous amount of money because of the work that they've put in. However, what I would say is it is down to the individual. It's down to finding a company that works for you. It's down to finding an environment that enables you to be the best possible broker, to have access to the right training, tools, resources, having the right people around you. Because effectively, the industry does have minimum standard agency fees that people will kind of work towards. And a lot of buyers and sellers are aware of those fees. So with that being said, you kind of know the fee that you're going to be charging for the services that you're going to provide. So what does the commission structure look like that the company is offering you? You know, are you going to be taking 50%, which is still a massive amount of money? Or have you got the ability to go up to 60 or even 70%, which again is going to maximise the amount of revenue that you can generate on every deal you do as well?
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's say I'm a broker. I've just done a deal on we'll talk pounds because it's easier for probably more people at home. I've just sold £1 million property. What's the breakdown of how much commission comes? Where does it go to? How does that all work?
Yep. So if we're talking £1 million, we're looking at sort of 5 million dirhams. I've been out of the UK a long time, so going back into pounds is going to be a bit more difficult. But if we look at that, say for example, you were to take the 2% agency fee from the buyer, which is the minimum industry standard. That would then work out for you as sort of £20,000 on that deal as that 2%. Now, obviously, again, those fees are negotiable. You know, a lot of the time, agents don't work for owners for free. You know, you're advertising their property, you're providing as much of a service for them as you are for the buyer as well. But just to keep it simple, you've charged that 2% fee, that's £20,000. That is then paid through the accounts team at the company that you work for, and then you will take your commission split from that. So obviously if you're taking a 50-50 commission split, which is where any reputable company will kind of start a new agent off with, that's obviously then £10,000 in your pocket for selling that deal, for selling that house. And then obviously the ability to go up, you then go up to 55%, 60, 65, and that chunk then gets bigger as you become more experienced. And again, what that looks like and how quickly that can happen will vary from company to company. At White & Co, it's based on quarterly targets, so you can work your way up that commission structure pretty quickly. We're a performance-based agency. It's not about, you know, oh, we can't give you a promotion because such and such a person's been here for 5 years, they're next in line, or you have to serve a minimum of 2 years to qualify for promotions. It's performance-based. If you come in and smash it, you take a bigger chunk on every deal.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do that with my own companies. Like, I'll promote people because of what they've done, not because of how long they've been in the company. Yeah. I'll give them pay rises because of, you know, I've given pay rises to somebody 1 month and then I think again the following month because they've done well. So yeah, that makes total sense. You spoke about the company a lot, and companies, you know, are you going to go to the right company? White & Co has been like on an astronomical rise over the last few years. Talk us through that.
So the one thing that really stood out about White & Co at the time was the business model was very unique in comparison to what was readily available in the market up until that point. So Callum White, the CEO and founder, he was a very successful broker himself for a good 7-8 years. And during COVID, obviously when things slowed down a little bit for every industry, it was kind of a good opportunity for Callum to acknowledge the gaps in the market in terms of what brokers were being offered. And a lot of the sticking points for a lot of people was the lack of progression, the lack of ability to be able to increase your commission, the lack of reward and recognition. You know, it was very much, you know, come in, get on with your job, take 50%, and that's kind of it, that's your ceiling. So Callum decided to launch a business model that was based around incentive programs, progression opportunities, agents just generally feeling valued, because it is probably one of the hardest jobs out there. So to feel valued and to be recognised for what you're actually doing, it does go a long way. There's so many small things we do at White & Co that have a massive impact, that don't take a lot to actually do, but actually make people proud of where they work and want to be part of the team. And then that just snowballs, because, you know, one of our brokers goes out and does a viewing with someone and they say, oh yeah, you know, I've been at this company for 3 years and I'm on 50% commission, and one of our brokers goes, you're a great broker. If you were to come over to White & Co, you'd be a 60% broker or a 65% broker. And they go, well, actually, why am I going to go and do the same job for less money? I might as well go to White & Co. And it snowballs, and then they tell their friends, I've moved to White & Co. And that was sort of the pattern that we seen to begin with, and obviously still continues to this day, which plays a massive part in the growth. But for me, one of the most important things is, while we've grown astronomically in such a short space of time, we've never lost that like close-knit team environment, that boutique style way of working. Our directors, although we've got a massive team, our directors are only really managing around 18 agents. You don't even get that level of support at a company a tenth of the size of what we are. So we've maintained being a boutique brokerage, but having the strength of obviously a massive reputable brand behind the agents, and having the strength of the team around them to help close more deals and bring more stock to market.
Nice. Now, you said there that the industry across the board was at 50% before. Callum's come in and he's gone, we're going to make it higher. How's the rest of the industry taking that?
The initial sort of reaction to it was it's not sustainable. Their doors are going to be closed in 12 months. It's never going to work. And again, you don't ever think something's going to work until it's done. Yeah. You think everything is impossible until someone shows that it is possible. And yeah, obviously we haven't grown the way we have over the past 4 years by sheer luck. We are the most data-driven agency in Dubai. That was one of the awards that we won last year. Everything that we do, it's backed by facts, figures, data. So yeah, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was taken particularly well. It did make a lot of people think, am I going to have to put my hand in my pocket and eat into my profits? But...
And have they?
I mean, some have, yeah, definitely. It's definitely, and I think in terms of incentive programs, a lot of people have ramped things up, which is fantastic. Callum's main goal when starting out was for brokers to be well looked after and to get the recognition they deserve. So for people to follow suit and improve what they're offering was what Callum set out to achieve in the beginning. Yeah,
it makes sense. And it's really an industry where the broker is kind of the focus, isn't it, right?
Absolutely.
Because you've got properties, but there's properties everywhere. You just need to get the best brokers to be able to manage it all.
Exactly. And that was one of the big things that we've always been really on the ball with. It's just being at the forefront of things, you know, being the market leaders across so many different areas, because again, you know, you cannot go anywhere in Dubai. At the moment, I think we're on 3 or 4 massive billboards on the main roads.
I passed one today on the way in.
Literally, you've got our brokers' faces on these big, massive billboards on these huge roads that see hundreds of thousands of cars every single day. You go on social media, you'll see something White & Co pretty quickly. As soon as you go onto Instagram, as soon as you go onto LinkedIn, you know, we're a very prominent business, and being the market leaders and being at the forefront of not just being a fantastic brokerage, but being the brokerage that emphasises employee well-being, training, rewards and recognition. Being known as one thing, but being known for the right things is a totally different thing.
Yeah, 100%. Now, you've said about the incentive programs. What is that? I've seen it. I see the people that watches. I see, like, talk us through that.
So we've got multiple different incentive programs because, again, prior to our business model being launched, it was, you know, generally the same people, the same top performers, the people that have been in businesses for a very long time would get the rewards over and over again. So we wanted to offer a much more even playing field and give even people that are brand new to the industry the opportunity to be involved in those incentives and to get that reward and recognition. So we have our weekly incentive. So every single broker that hits their weekly target goes into the tombola spin, and you can win experiences all around Dubai. Things like, you know, brunches, business lunches, days at beach clubs, just things that you can go and do and enjoy on a weekend after the busy week at the expense of the company. And that is every single person that hits target every single week. So if you hit your target every week, you can go out every Saturday on us, if you're not working, obviously. We then have the monthly incentive. So if you hit your monthly target, you have gold coins deposited into an online piggy bank system. Whole catalogue of prizes. That's where you'll see a lot of the things that you've seen on social media. You'll notice a lot of people at White & Co have amazing teeth. Veneers are one of the incentives that are available on there. There's Emirates business class vouchers, there's holidays, but I think the main one that people tend to save up and go for is the Rolex watch. So yeah, there's that one. We then have the top performers where we give cashback bonuses. So if you're the top sales, leasing or commercial broker, we'll actually give you a cashback bonus on top of what you've already earned in that month as well. So that actually means you can go up to an 80% commission split for that month. So those are kind of the ongoing monthly and weekly incentives. Then, of course, we have the quarterly incentives, and we have the yearly incentive, which is the all expenses paid trip abroad for different people across different departments that have stood out in their area.
Yeah. Nice. So tell me some stories about the success stories. Like, give me some examples of people that have come and really cracked it.
I think the most prominent one that comes to mind at the moment, because it's so fresh, is the leasing deal that was done that you might have seen on Callum's Instagram last week.
Yeah.
Stacey, the girl that done the deal, she's an amazing broker, but she's also such a huge asset to the team. Like, she's just a nice person to be around. She's so helpful with the new starters. She won our broker's broker for the leasing department in the annual awards, and she really does embody what a broker's broker is. But an absolutely amazing agent, and she'd done the biggest leasing deal that we've ever seen in the company, and it was a figure that blew a lot of people's minds. Like, I had people from all different agencies messaging me like, how is that even possible to have done that? So that's kind of one that really stands out. And Stacey's a White and Co OG. She joined right at the very beginning, so she's seen the business grow astronomically. Same with people like Jay-Z and Steph Murdoch, these people that have come in right at the beginning of the journey, been a massive part of the growth, and are obviously massive advocates of the brand. And then we've got some newer success stories. You know, I've seen one of my most recent hires from the last training group's just done his first deal in Villanova today. Again, one of the girls from the last training group's just done her first sales deal in Arabian Ranches for over 200,000 dirhams, which for a first deal, you know, 20,000 odd pounds in your back pocket straight away is incredible. There's then some really prominent figures that are, you know, in that first sort of year of their real estate journey. And, you know, David O'Keefe, Jordan Feemster were both faces that were on those billboards based on having the most true check listings, so the most genuine listings on Beirut. You've got people like Louis Austin, Lewis, Dylan, like some of these people that have gone from our downtown leasing team into now our downtown sales team and already doing deals really quickly, and they followed that natural line of progression. So I could sit here all day and talk about, you know, success stories and people that I'm really, really proud of, because we've got a lot of them. But it doesn't come without its challenges.
Well, we're going to get to that. Don't worry about that. We're getting to that. So give me some numbers. Like, if I've come and I've absolutely smashed it, I'm in the top 5 or 10% of people that have joined in the last year, what am I making in the first year?
So we've got some anomalies, people that have become associate directors in the first year, which is not something we see happen every year. So we've had some people that have come in and, you know, way surpassed the 3-4 million dirham mark in their first year, which is unbelievable. And
that's going to be a 50-50 split, right? So they're going to get half of that and the company will get half of that.
So initially they would have been on 50%, but they would then have the ability to increase. So by the time you get to that sort of 3-4 million dirham mark and you're an associate director, you're then at a fixed 70% commission rate. But I would say sort of, if you're looking at the top 5%, and we'll take into consideration people like Navi, Serena, Liam Robertson, some fantastic people that have done really, really well. You know, you're looking at a £250,000 in your first year.
And that's people coming from a job that's probably been paid 30-40 grand a year at home to £300,000-400,000, or maybe a bit less in their first year. Like, that's mental.
It is mental, and this is going to sound quite brutal, but being part of White & Co, you see these big figures going on the board every single day. You see these, you know, everyone knows to buy Jody. We see him all over Instagram. People message me every single day. He's an absolute machine. He is one of the biggest role models for anybody wanting to get into to buy real estate, and the figures that he does are just unbelievable. We almost get a little bit used to it sitting in the office, because we have leaderboards, so all of the deals go on. And what I love about it is it doesn't matter whether you've put 5,000 dirhams on the board or 500,000 dirhams. Everybody in the office claps and cheers, and that's one of my favourite things about the environment that we work in. But because you see those massive figures going on every day, I don't think you actually take a second to step back and go, that's actually £100,000 that this 25-year-old person that is brand new to real estate, or this 40-year-old person that's never done real estate before, has just put in their back pocket in their first year in a new industry. And I think until you step back and actually think about it, you know, I don't think you do actually really take into consideration how much money people are actually making.
Yeah, and it's almost impossible to do anywhere else at that sort of level, right?
100%. To come into an industry with no previous experience, no, you know, university degree, and to be earning that kind of money in your first year, I'm not aware of another industry out there that actually enables you to do that.
Yeah. Now, I seen Dubai George's number from last year. What was that number? It's fucking mental.
He sold 691 million dirhams worth of properties last year, if I'm not mistaken, which has taken him over 2 billion dirhams worth of properties since he joined the industry.
Now, you're not going to do that in your first year, but he's not been here that long, has he?
3 years.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people can. Yeah. And I think a lot of people look at it and think, wow, you know, he's this guy that's come over from a car sales background. He's gone into real estate. He's absolutely smashing it. But honestly, he is relentless. He works unbelievably hard for that money. And to be that successful, and he's made such a mark in the area that he specialises in. A lot of people sitting at home in the UK will think, you know, I want to work in every area in Dubai and I want to run around and do sales and leasing and commercial. I want to do everything because I just want to make as much money as possible. But then when you actually look at people like Jody, who is such a prominent figure in this current market, most of his money is made in one building, never mind one area. So, you know, being a specialist and really honing it in, it might take a little bit longer to become an expert in that. But when you do, the results are worth it.
That makes sense. Right, let's talk about Jody. So, LinkedIn top voice, is that the right term for it?
Yeah, so they've actually changed the approach around the top voice kind of thing now. Right. In the beginning, it was kind of something that anyone and everyone could do. Now you have to be invited to be part of the community. Right. So yeah, I don't actually have the top voice badge anymore. They didn't invite me back.
Why not?
They just changed the criteria, and I also switched up my approach to LinkedIn towards the back end of last year. It's very easy with social media to get carried away with likes and number of followers and forget the reason why you actually go onto the platform every day. And I fell victim to it myself. And it was a little bit detrimental, but we're building it back up and we're getting back to where we wanted to be. Yeah,
so you're so authentic on LinkedIn, right? That's the thing that I always notice about your posts. It's like, you can tell that you've worked it all out, you've written it all out, and it's like made for someone, compared to like you see so much like AI stuff and you see so much people just throwing up nonsense, but like your posts are so relevant to so many people, I always find.
Yeah, and again, that came down to stripping things back last year, where I kind of had a little look at my target audience. I'd done a series of different polls to find out, you know, who are my connections, where are you based in the world, what do you do for work, what's your age group, what's your interests, and finding out, you know, am I connected with the right people, and am I reaching the people that I'm setting out to reach? And that's where I then stripped things back a lot, which again, it slowed down the growth, but it's been worth it. I got to a point where my inbox was just completely full of stuff that was not relevant to what I was doing, and then you just become a busy fool. So stripping it back and getting to know my audience was definitely a necessary move to take the brand to where I wanted it to be. And also remaining that authenticity in the post, because as you say, you know, AI is massive now and it definitely serves its purpose. However, when you're the person that's responsible for such a big life-changing decision, should you be allowing AI to write those posts for you, or should it be coming from you because you actually want to engage with the right people?
Now, you're talking about numbers and you're kind of getting away from that, but you do still have crazy numbers. Like the amount of likes you get on your posts. Have you got 100,000 followers on LinkedIn? Yeah. Like, not many people have 100,000 followers on LinkedIn. That's like such consistency over such a long period, I'm assuming, to be able to get to that point.
Yeah, I posted for 2 years. I posted every single day. I didn't miss a day for 2 whole years.
Christmas as well.
I even posted on Christmas Day. Last year I didn't post every single day when I was stripping things back and seeing what worked and what didn't, but I still posted on Christmas Day. And thinking of that amount of content all the time is not easy. But I'm quite fortunate because it's something that comes naturally to me, and it doesn't to a lot of people. My background story was I actually wanted to be a journalist because I enjoy writing. And then when I kind of looked at the media outlets that I would have had an opportunity to be a journalist for, I decided it probably wasn't the right industry for me to go into. But I've always always enjoyed writing and I've always enjoyed engaging with people. So to be able to then take something that I enjoy and that comes naturally with me to be a gateway to get to know a lot more people, for me, it's a no-brainer and it's something that I enjoy, but I know for a lot of people, it's a chore.
Yeah. It's so interesting what you said there, right? Because I was at did you see the Mind Valley event that was last week? Stephen Bartlett was talking on it. He said that people that have complementary but random skills to a job or a task, it can benefit them so much. And so that journalism thing coming into what you do, it must have pushed you so far. Clearly.
Definitely. And I think even some of the things that used to be seen as negative traits that I had. So, for example, every parents' evening, every report card, it was the same thing. She talks too much. And now I'm like, now I get paid to talk. So it's like, things that have even been perceived as a negative that have turned out to serve me a much bigger purpose later in life. And that's something that, again, I'm a big advocate for. I've done LinkedIn training sessions. I've gone into careers days. One of the things that I'm going to expand into this year is hopefully going into schools and talking to people about kind of how to find a career that you actually enjoy. Because when you enjoy something and you take something that you're good at and you love it, you're going to be a lot more successful. And people tend to pigeon themselves very young into thinking they should do a certain career because it pays the most money or because without...
The teacher said or your mum and dad said.
Exactly, without actually... I mean, recruitment was never something that I used to be a regional manager, so it was kind of a small part of it, a job that I was doing back in the UK. But it was never something that I ever thought I would go into doing full time, and now I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right, before we go into the bits you don't see, the negative stuff, have you got anything else? Like, what have you got going on? What's next?
Last year was a very big year for me in terms of, as I say, just redirecting where I was going as an individual and what my goals were professionally. A lot of personal goals in terms of buying properties, running a marathon. So last year there was a lot of pressure from all angles that was put on myself by me. That's the type of person that I am. I've always been someone that if I'm going to do something, I only ran my first 5k in February.
Yeah, talk me through this because you walked in with a limp today. Talk me through that.
So I ran, and it's such a shame when I talk about the story because the reason that I got into running was because I wanted to run the Burge to Burge half marathon this year, and now I can't because being over ambitious as I am, I decided to run my first 5k in February and then sign up to do a full marathon, 42.2 kilometres, 9 months later, which we done. We got the marathon completed. I got the medal to show for it, which was obviously a big life goal ticked. A life goal that I didn't know I had this time last year was already ticked off. But yeah, it did lead to a bit of an injury. So a fractured femur, slip disc in the back. So we're in the process of getting that fixed and I will be back running and I will beat my Abu Dhabi marathon time at some point. But yeah, sadly, no Burge to Burge. And yeah, there was some travel goals in there. I went to Kenya on safari, which has been a bucket list holiday for me.
Nice, we done that as well last year. It's incredible, isn't it?
Unbelievable. Yeah. The Lion King was my favourite film from being so young. So to kind of go and experience that was absolutely amazing. So there was a lot last year. This year, there's still a lot of pressure, but in different ways. There's a lot that I want to do work-wise. I am actually going to be starting to do my CIPD Associate Level 5 within the next couple of weeks, which is basically the equivalent of a foundation degree in HR. So doing a degree on top of a full-time job is going to be interesting. But again, I just think there's no regulations around real estate recruitment. So to kind of stand out as somebody that is knowledgeable, experienced and qualified in what they do, I think there should be more regulation around it. But if there's not, I want to be the person to kind of set the bar and set the standards for it. There's other things in the pipeline as well in terms of investments and obviously getting money, making more money, which is what everyone wants to do. And I think it's easier now than it ever has been before. So there's a lot around that side of things. But one of the big things that I want to do, I've rebranded. I've taken everything that I learned from last year into this year. So there's going to be a massive year in terms of my own personal brand and my platform being used to educate, inform and support people making the move to Dubai and getting into real estate. But the main thing that I want to do this year is just really enjoy everything that I'm doing. There was so much pressure put on myself by me last year that it was like, if I wanted to go for dinner with the girls on a Friday night, I was thinking, I'm up at 5 a.m. for a run, or, you know, if I wanted to buy a pair of shoes, I'm saving for the property, which there will still be those elements, you know, there is still big plans in place. But I want to enjoy what I'm doing this year.
We've talked about a lot of positives there. This can either be from a business perspective or personal. What's your proudest moment from everything that you've done?
Wow. I think moving to Dubai has to definitely be up there, because the response to me telling people I was moving to Dubai was, she'll be back in 3 months. I'm still here 8 years later, and I've obviously achieved a lot more than I could have ever imagined. Obviously being part of the growth of White & Co, even in the short space of time that I kind of have been there in comparison to, you know, how long the business has been running. We've been in operation for 4 years. I've been there for 2. We've doubled in that time in terms of every department across the whole entire business, in terms of every team, directors, marketing, HR, everything's doubled. So being part of that's obviously a proud moment. And then running the marathon and getting it finished even with a fractured femur.
That's crazy. Like, that's the craziest part of it, that what was it, 8 kilometres that you've done on a fractured femur?
Yeah, which looking back, if I'd have known it was a fractured femur, I might have stopped, so I'm glad I didn't.
Probably, yeah. Good idea. Right, let's go into the bits you don't see. So I'm going to let you just start and guide it. What are some of the bits you don't see, either personally on kind of living in Dubai or brokers? Take your pick on where you want to start.
I think in terms of brokers, a lot of what people don't realise is how much work actually goes into being successful. They see the figures, which looks great, and everybody wants to get to the end result without the work it takes to get there, or to try and reinvent the wheel or come up with some shortcut that's going to get them to that result. And there is none. There's no shortcuts. There's no secrets. The process is tried and tested. It's proven. If you follow that process and you put the right amount of work ethic into it, you can generate those same numbers, but not everybody does. Yeah. It's 24/7. People don't see the fact that, you know, you could be sitting at home in your PJs with your cup of tea and someone rings you and says, I'm going to be in the area in half an hour. Are you free to view? Yeah. And it's 9 o'clock at night and you've got to get up, put your suit on and get to your area in 30 minutes. Yeah. It's the...
Or even worse, similar to that, but a deal, the shit hits the fan on it, and you're about to get a deal, you're about to get your commission, another broker comes in last minute, and you're about to lose a deal at 9 o'clock at night on a Saturday.
And that was literally the next point that I was going to come on to, is people don't realise how competitive the industry is. You've got 21,500 real estate agents that are licensed in Dubai at the moment, there or thereabouts. And although listings can only be online with up to 3 agents at any one time, there can be more than that working on it offline. And that's always going to be one of the biggest challenges. You know, when you've put so much work into building a relationship with both the owner and the client, you've done everything you can, you've done everything right. And at the last minute, another agent from another company comes in with a higher offer. You're not getting paid for any of that work that you've done, whether you've worked 7 days a week on the phone non-stop. It doesn't matter. You're not getting paid. It is very much like running a business within a business. So there is definitely a lot of challenges that people need to be prepared for. And I always tell people when I'm on that kind of initial introductory call stage, is the biggest thing that you need to be prepared for in the first 6 months is what you're putting in versus what you're getting out is going to be in balance to begin with in the first 6 months. You're going to be investing so much of your time, effort and energy, working 7 days a week, doing everything you can for very little in return to begin with. You know, it takes time to build up a portfolio of properties, to build up a reputable brand in the market and become a go-to agent, to be prominent in your area, to build up the knowledge. You cannot expect to come into this and start earning millions straight away. It can happen quickly, and you can be one of those people that comes in and earns £250,000 in the first 12 months, which is unbelievable. But not everybody does that, and not everybody can. I always say to people, there's the top 1%, and then there's everyone else. And Callum's favourite sort of, what's the word that I'm looking at, like the comparable to it. You know, you could be a Premier League footballer playing for a Premier League team, and yet you're earning amazing money. You're surrounded by the best of the best, which is amazing. That's where you want to be. But then that doesn't mean that somebody that's playing for maybe a League One team isn't earning a lot of money and very good at what they do. So just because you're not right up there at the top 1%, you can be one day but you never will be if you're not prepared to go through the challenges and get through the initial slog that it takes.
And it is the same with everything, right? Usually you put in more effort at the start to get the rewards later, but it's just massively amplified by it being commission only. But then also the upside's probably so much bigger than, well, I don't know if we said it on this episode or if we said it before, but the upside's so much higher than anything. Like,
there's no other industry that offers the earning potential in the space of time without years of training, without years of experience. You know, for most industries, for you to be in a job that is paying six figures, you'll have trained for years. You'll have a university degree. You'll have done all kinds of different internships, and you're in your 30s before you've even got a sniff of it. We've got 21-year-olds doing it. It's mental, but that's why I love it so much, because I'm in a position that I really do get to be a part of the process of people changing their lives. And yet, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and say that I get it right every time. But when I do, some of the success stories that I can share, like I have done earlier on this episode, that's where I get my job satisfaction from. I don't get any job satisfaction from hiring people, which sounds crazy from a recruiter, right? That is my job to hire people.
No, it makes sense, though. It makes total sense.
My job satisfaction comes once the hiring part is done, seeing them come in, seeing them go through the training, getting the feedback about them from the trainers, seeing them do their first seals, seeing them go on to do personal bests, progressing in the business, winning awards. That's what matters to me, not how many people I can bring into a business.
That's a great clip for your LinkedIn. I've seen you looking at the camera there. That's a good one. No, that makes total sense. Something that you mentioned that I think probably people don't realise is where the leads come from, right? Where like, do I show up on day one and you go, there's a list of all your houses you need to sell? Like, how does that work?
No, that's what people assume is going to happen. But basically, it's a full 360 role. It's an industry where you hunt what you eat, is kind of the saying around it. You have to get out there and build relationships with property owners and be that trusted, credible person that when they are ready to rent or sell their property, that they're going to go through you. We obviously provide all the training and tools to be able to get to that point, but it is going to be a lot of no's before you get to a yes. And again, that's another big challenge. It's, you know, being able to be told no 100 times and still keep going and still stay motivated to get to that one yes. And then what happens from there is, like, every company's process will be similar with a few differences. With us, we do have an internal professional marketing department to help with the quality of the listings, which is what has catapulted us to be in one of the highest lead generating real estate agencies in the whole of Dubai, based on the qualities of the listings that we're putting online. And then what happens is, in the first year, 98% of your leads are going to come from Property Finder and Bayut. So this is where we kind of market the properties on the owner's behalf, and the leads will go directly to the agent from there. The other 2% will come from social media, networking, people that you already know, and other forms of lead generation. As you kind of then go into the second year, that's where you want to be leaning into all the business that you've done in the first year for your repeat and referral business. That's where the longevity in the role comes from. And, you know, the top brokers in the market are probably working with the same 10 buyers over and over again, because they're just passing them on to other people that they know, or they're going back and buying because they've done a good job for them before. So although in the beginning it is a lot of hard work and it is very challenging, and to stay motivated during those first 12 months is definitely a big challenge. Once you get into that second year and you get that repeat and referral business, you double your income. It gets a lot more interesting. The business starts coming to you. It's just about, you know, surviving that first year, really.
What happens if you don't survive the first year? Like, if I come in, I'm not picking up the phone enough, I'm not going and seeing people enough. Like, what are some of the kind of opposite of the success stories? What's some of the sob stories?
So we're quite fortunate, myself and Daisy, my colleague in recruitment. So we are a recruitment team of just 2 people. We've both been doing the job for a very long time. So we're pretty good in terms of picking up when we are speaking to people, if they are cut out for it, if they've got the drive for it, finding out what their motivation and what their why is for wanting to be able to do it. So we don't often see people coming in that are not prepared to do the work, thankfully, which comes through years of experience from me and Daisy. We've got 15 years combined experience in Dubai real estate. And so we don't face that too much in terms of people not wanting to do the work. There will be people where the motivation will drop off when the money's not coming in, and that's where we kind of have to step in and say, you know, is this a a support thing? Do we need to be providing more support? Do we need to be providing more training? Can we maybe put some form of performance plan in place to help you to get to where you want to be? But sometimes people will get to a point where, despite the fact that they've tried and despite the fact that they've put work in, they've got to a level that they just can't do it anymore. And it happens. The industry is not for everyone. Sales in general is not for everyone. And it's like anything, right? There'll be careers that you look at that someone else is amazing at, that you look at and think, I could never do that. Like, I could never be a teacher.
No,
it's an industry that I think, I've got so many friends that are teachers. They absolutely love what they do and they are perfect for that. There will always be industries that you look at and you go, I could never do that job. And vice versa. Someone could be looking at you right now thinking they could never do your job. So obviously it has to come to a point where, you know, people will come to us and say, I've done everything I can, I can't do it anymore, I've lost the passion for the job, or, you know, it's just not for me. And that's absolutely fine, that's understandable. We know it's not going to be for everyone. But the people that do want to be there and the people that do want to work, we'll invest in as many resources as we possibly can to make it work for those people. Just this year, you know, we're what, 8 working days into the year for us. We went back to work last Monday. We've introduced a new training manager that's joined us from a big agency out here in Dubai with years of experience under her belt, and 2 absolutely phenomenal sales directors to help strengthen the support team on the sales floor. We will continue to invest into our agents in whatever way we need to and whatever way possible to give you the best chance of success, but we can't do the work for you.
Another thing that I think is quite predominant here is people that come and enjoy the lifestyle a little bit too much. You come, you're out all the time, brunches, and you end up messing it up for yourself.
But again, a little bit of that does come down to me and Daisy. You know, have we dived deep enough into what are your reasons for coming to Dubai? Why do you want to get into real estate? If you want to come and live in Dubai because you want to live the Dubai lifestyle, that's absolutely fine. No one's going to judge you. Real estate's not the industry for you, because you're not going to have the opportunity to live that Dubai lifestyle for the first 6 or 12 months. So fine, do what you need to do. Don't see real estate as an easy way into the Dubai lifestyle, because it's not. It's also the due diligence around the finances as well. You know, if you do want to come to Dubai and you do want to have the freedom to go out and do the meals and go to places, have you got the money to do so? We do our due diligence from our side to make sure if you're accepting a commission-only role that the funds are in place before we get to the offer stage. So a little bit of that does come down to us, but obviously, you know, we can't hold people's hands 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You have got to let people go off and make their own decisions, and sometimes they'll make the right ones, and sometimes they'll decide against our advice and they'll go off and do their own thing. And more often than not, unfortunately, it doesn't work and they don't end up staying in real estate.
Now, when you say you do your due diligence, like, what are you looking out for? Is there like a number that you think that person needs to have this much money to come here? What are you looking out for?
Yeah, so our qualifying process to even get to the interview stage is so in-depth. It's like Fort Knox to get in front of me or Daisy, but it's because we want to make sure that when we're sitting down and having those conversations, they're as useful and as informative as absolutely possible. And when it comes to the finances side of things, you know, for me, ideally, I want to see a minimum of £10,000. You know, you can do it with a little bit less. You know, if someone comes in with 8 or 9, we can make it work. But ideally, for me, I want to be looking at that £10,000 mark. And if you want to give yourself the opportunity to start out in sales, you're going to need more, because it's going to take that little bit longer to get the first sale done and for that sale to actually transfer and you get paid. Again, another thing that people don't realise, you know, it could take you 2 months to do your first sale, which is great, but then it could take 2 months for it to transfer before, you know, you've gone 4 months, there's no money coming in. Again, you need to be prepared for that. Deals can happen and they may get paid at a little bit of a later date. So yeah, if you want to give yourself the chance to go into sales, and realistically speaking, there's never been a better market for people to come into and go directly into sales. Leasing is a great route for people that are learning the industry, learning new skills, building confidence, and the leasing has its purpose in the market, but there has never been a better market for people to be working in sales than what we've got right now. Yeah,
that makes sense. Right, so you spoke about the marathon and you spoke about injuring yourself. Talk us through the kind of whole marathon thing from kind of start to finish. On the harder side, it's easy to see, right, you've crossed the finish line, you've done great, but what about the training and injury?
The training is the hardest part. The marathon, I was actually, until the injury happened, was actually really enjoying myself, and is one of the best things that I've ever done in my whole life. I enjoyed the whole experience up until 34 kilometres. However, I think you don't realise it takes over your life. You know, you're watching what you're eating, you're watching what you're doing, you're prioritising sleep. So, you know, you're not out on a Friday night, you're in bed at 8 o'clock because you're getting up to run at 5 o'clock on Saturday, and then you're knackered all day Saturday because you've been up since early doors and you've gone and done, you know, a 27-kilometre run as part of your training block. And there's a lot that goes into it. But it was also one of the best things that I ever done in terms of lifestyle changes, because there was 2 big things that I was, you know, not great with health-wise. One, I never ever drank enough water, so getting into running's actually made me a lot more conscious about that. And 2, I was a big vapor, and I've stopped vaping over a year ago now, so that's all kind of, you know, there's been positives of the training side of things as well. But it's like we said earlier, any big goal that you set for yourself, it has to take over your life for 12 months. You have to be prepared to do that and to go through that to achieve the goal that you've set yourself. And if you're not, the goal's not right for you.
Yeah. And what's it like balancing that with, like, clearly a high-powered and hard job? Like, how are you able to do them both at the same time?
It was hard. But I think it's a matter of priorities, right? If it's important to you, you'll make a way to make it work. And this was a big priority to me. Work is a huge part of who I am. And it is my number one priority at the moment. You know, I'm 33, I've got no kids at the moment, and work is my biggest priority at the moment. I'm in a building stage of my life to set myself up for the next 10 years so that when I do have kids, I'm in the strongest position to give them the best possible life. But then you can add other things into that and they can complement each other. Again, me taking up the running side of things got me a lot more involved with the employee wellbeing arm of the business, and introducing things like Sunday morning beach runs, ice baths, high rock style training sessions, and that then opens up a whole new avenue of my role that I didn't even know existed and that I could be involved in. So, you know, you can do 2 big things and you can have 2 big goals that actually can complement each other. It's just a case of prioritising.
That makes sense. I see that in my own life as well, where you kind of stack things on top of each other because you feel healthier, so you can do more at work, and then because you're doing more at work, you've got a bit more money, so you can invest, and you know they all kind of complement each other really well.
Atomic Habits is a great book for anyone that's thinking about how to obviously make small changes that lead to big results.
Yeah. Now, what about Dubai living in general? You're a great person to answer this question because you kind of see the full spectrum. What are some of the harder bits about living here?
The initial sort of settling in stage for me personally was the hardest thing. I was very much a home bird. My whole family live in the same area, you know, a matter of doors away from each other. So moving away from that and coming to, I'd never been to Dubai before. I didn't know anybody living here. So the initial sort of settling in period, I actually found it really hard to make friends when I first came to Dubai. I'm fortunate now. I've got a great group of friends around me and an amazing support network. But I found it really hard to make friends when I first got here because the job that I was doing was so intense and it was 24/7, and it was difficult to go out and mingle and network for a personal gain, which again, maybe another sort of sacrifice that you need to be willing to make. And then there's little things like knowing what budget should look like and what you should be spending on things. You know, I think we've all come to Dubai and been stung paying more for something that we maybe should have. So again, just, you know, what apps should you download to save money? The Entertainer is obviously a great one that I'm a brand ambassador for. Used them for years before I became an ambassador. Things like Viva for some of your basic stuff, you know, Viva Supermarket, just to get your basic frozen, your sauces, your kitchen rolls and those kinds of things, as opposed to going to Waitrose. It is a great way to obviously reduce unnecessary expenses. Things like knowing what to do if you're in a car accident, what to do.
I wouldn't know what to do if I'm in a car accident.
Really?
No idea.
We'll catch up after.
Yeah, tell me after.
Yeah.
I've run out of fuel and I've literally parked the car at the side of the road and gone away. Or you get CAFU, the emergency CAFU. I wouldn't have a clue on emergency numbers. So
CAFU is one of my favourite things about Dubai. The fact that I can sit in my house in my pyjamas and my car is filled up for me and I don't even have to leave. When I most recently went back to the UK and I seen my mum get out the car to put the petrol
What's going on?
in the freezing cold, bear in mind it was snowing, and she's had to get it, and I'm like, yeah, that's not for me anymore. So yeah, just little things like that. Just knowing kind of those little things, hopefully, you know, you're not in a car accident, you don't have to worry about what to do, but it's good to know if you do. So yeah, just little things like that I think are some of the challenges that you can expect to face in the first 12 months or so. But again, a lot of that comes down to the company that you join. You know, what is the HR support? How informative is the recruitment team? Have you been given a basic handbook that's got the information in that you need that you can refer back to? All will play a big part in that as well.
Yeah. And you said that you struggled to kind of make friends in the early stages here, but I'm assuming White & Co do that a bit different now. Do you help people make friends?
In all honesty, I was never the type of person that had a massive group of friends anyway. My best friends are my cousin, that is obviously I've known for 30 years, and my best friend that I went to college with, that we've been best friends for nearly 20 years. I'm not the type of person that massively goes out of my way to make new friends all of the time. So probably a part of that did come down to me as well. But yeah, there wasn't the same social element back then, and if it was very much going to the pub on a Friday afternoon, which, you know, when you've had a busy week in work, sometimes that's the last thing you want to do. Exactly. Whereas at White & Co, we do cater for a much kind of wider range of hobbies and interests. That's and me good. And Daisy get to know that about the people that we're employing as well. So maybe someone comes in with a hobby that we haven't necessarily come across previously. We can then make a note of that. So when it comes to planning things like company incentives, like team bonding exercises, we can incorporate new things into that as well. With the new agents that are coming on board with us, we actually put them in a group chat together before they come over to Dubai. So that again, they've got other people in the same situation, making the move, going through the same nerves, the same excitement, the same questions running through the minds. So they kind of have that inbuilt support network amongst each other when they first come on board as well.
That makes sense. And I've always found it quite an easy place to make friends because everyone's been new at some point. Yeah. Everyone's so welcoming.
100%, and that is one of the biggest things that I do like about Dubai is everybody's here for the same reason. We've all, well, let's say 89% of us on the recent statistics, 89% of people in Dubai are expats. We've all left our home countries, we've all left our families, friends, everything that we've ever known and loved, left them behind in search of better opportunities. So everyone that you meet, you have a common interest and a common goal with. So there's always that to lean back on to make those friends. But for me, I threw myself into work from the get-go. But as I say, very fortunate. I have now got my group of friends that I'm really, really lucky to have. And last year especially, I made kind of like a new group of friends around the running side of things. Yeah, of so we have our group chat now, Long Run Club, which is actually off the back of another run club that we started, Euphoria members, on the Saturday morning, doing a 3 or a 6K loop around kind of Reform in the lakes and an ice bath afterwards. And that kind of then opened up, you know, having that new hobby and having more friends from that. I've probably made more friends in Dubai in the last 12 months than I had done in the 7 years before.
Right, let's talk about that a little bit more because we've not actually spoken about that a lot. And I think it's such a predominant thing here is communities and clubs and hobbies. Like there's so much of that going on. Yeah,
literally for everything that you could possibly imagine. And there's Facebook groups that you can get into before you come over where you can ask the questions that you've got about, you know, where's the best gym to go to? Does anyone know any Pilates instructors? You know, maybe you want to do painting or pottery or whatever it is that you want to do. There's so many groups that you can get into before you even get here to kind of set that up for when you do arrive. And me and Daisy, again, we can put you in touch with people if there is something that you are interested in. A big one that we've seen recently is horse riding. A lot of people that we're speaking to are looking at, you know, is the stables out there? Can you get into horse riding? So, yeah, that was something that popped up quite a lot last year. But the sense of community, again, I think stems from the fact that we have to become each other's family.
It's so interesting as well that you look for what people's hobbies are and stuff like that before they come across. Like, I can't imagine that many places do that.
I can't comment because I wouldn't know. But I think for me, I take a lot of pride in what I do and I get very emotionally attached to every person that I hire, whether that is a good thing or maybe a not so good thing. But I do get very emotionally attached to every person that I hire, and I like to know as much about them as possible, as early on as possible, so I can make sure that we are offering them the best possible experience. Because White & Co for me is the best company in Dubai. I wouldn't be representing them if I didn't genuinely, hand on heart, believe that there's nowhere else out there that can offer what we offer. But we might not be for everyone. And that is absolutely fine. My job is to find out if we are for you and you are coming on board and we're offering you that position, that we're giving you the best possible start and we're making sure that you feel valued and looked after and you've got the opportunity to share your ideas and actually have an input and see change made off the back of what you've said as well. So, you know, there's a lot more that goes into it than just, you know, are you happy working on commission only? Have you got a driving licence?
Yeah. I thought that's all it was.
That's what everyone thinks it is, and then they get on a call with me
Good
and
luck.
I'm like, so who's your support network at home? Who do you live with? And they're like,
that's good. That's really interesting. Maybe not White & Co, but in general in the industry, if you've kind of got a loose guess, what percentage of people do you think that come here to be a real estate broker are still a real estate broker in 2 years' time?
That's a really good question. To be honest, I've never thought about people at other companies or the industry as a whole. However, based just on what I do now is, you know, you've got 5 or 6 big reputable companies that are responsible for the majority of the market share. And then there's around 3,500 real estate agencies that range from, you know, corporate enterprises to boutique style firms to startups to one-man bands that have literally just got a trade license and started up. And I would say the success rate probably isn't where it needs to be. And I think that's where Callum advocating for change in the market around training and development and incentive programs. I think if more people did take that on board and be willing to implement those things, the success rate would be higher.
Yeah, makes sense. Right, if you could go back to the first day just before you started on your journey of coming to Dubai, and you could either turn right, come to Dubai, or turn left and not, what would you do?
Knowing what I know now, I'd have jumped on the plane. I'd have jumped on the plane 5 years earlier.
Yeah.
The only thing that I regret about moving to Dubai is not doing it sooner.
Yeah. I'm the exact same. 100%.
Like, I don't think there's ever been a time where I've had any doubt in my mind that I'm in the right place.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Like, it's crazy to think about, like, not living here now. I can imagine it. Right, where do people keep up to date with you?
So I've got obviously the LinkedIn side of things, which is my main preferred platform. So yeah, just basically my name, Jodi Thompson, Jodi with an I, not an IE on LinkedIn. So quite easy to find on there. And then I do also have the Instagram page as well, which is just the Dubai Recruiter. Which you can kind of see a lot more video content. You can see a bit more about the agents and always actively posting about any updates and things over on there. That is one side of the brand that is going to be growing a lot this year in terms of working with social media marketer managers and just making that a lot more relevant, making it a lot more, as I said, the aim this year with my role and the online platforms that I use is educate, inform and support people that are moving to Dubai. So that's going to be where things are going to go over to. But yeah, that's the 2 main platforms. I've got a TikTok, but it's...
You're dancing on it.
It's not looking good.
No. Good. Right. Well, thank you very much, Jodi. It's been great. And everyone at home, thank you very much for listening. We spoke to somebody great today. If you could please subscribe, like, share, and hopefully we can speak to somebody just as great next time. Thank you, and thanks, Jodi.
Thank you for having me.